Am I the a-hole for rolling my eyes at my boyfriend's proposal because it took 25 years of me begging? Yesterday after dinner my 52F boyfriend of 30 years, 53M, proposed to me. He just walked towards me holding a box and said to open it. It was a ring and I had pictured this moment a million different times but never thought I'd be so apathetic. My boyfriend then said that he was retired now and wants to kick back and enjoy life with me, and would love to do it all with me as his wife. A nice speech and all, but from the 5-year mark of our relationship onwards, I had been making clear my deep desire to marry, and was consistently dismissed, given empty promises, and gaslit. We had been through the gamut with therapy, and one counselor implied that me telling him we needed to go to therapy, and getting his butt on the couch still means nothing, if his mind has been made up. I was in denial about the fact he was just giving me the false illusion of progress to stall. My boyfriend and I have 4 kids. The oldest 3 are adults, while the youngest is 15F, was sleeping over elsewhere when this all went down. All of our kids went to a private school filled with typical Southern soccer parents. I had to endure PTA mom's jabs about me not sharing a last name with my kids. Preteen years were hell because the other kids would taunt my kids by saying, "Your dad would rather sin and go to hell than marry your mom." My BF's mom would tell him marriage would be selfish on my part, it is just a piece of paper. My BF ended up rising up the ranks until he became an executive. I was a stay-at-home mom, so I felt like there was always a power imbalance, exasperated by the fact I could be tossed any time. I partly did stay because I wanted my kids to have the best life and because I felt lucky and proud to be partnered with such an intelligent, successful man, but also because I loved him. These past few years my boyfriend's career has taken a downturn. He will never be poor, but the company he was part of took a nosedive during 2020, and he had made enemies out of associates and board members. He decided to step back from his role and take the generous severance agreed upon. Now he is living off his investments and wants to relax. I did not like how his career ended and how he treated people and had been deciding whether I wanted to leave and find somebody else after our youngest turns 18. So the proposal was a shock because I should hope that he noticed I have avoided conversations about the future as of late. He rattles on about downsizing our house so we can travel and also cutting back on our other expenses, but we're not married so it's all his money and house anyway. He did notice my eye roll and was offended. He asked what's wrong and I said that suddenly now that he's downsizing I'm good enough to marry. He got mad and said that now that he's downsizing and no longer an executive, I suddenly think our relationship is disrespectful. And started implying I was a gold digger. I was so angry I walked out and said I might just go out looking for a respectful relationship because I don't know what respect is anymore. Am I the asshole? Update 1 day later. At the time of my original post, my boyfriend and I had not spoken since the engagement fight. I'd been with him long enough to know that when he goes and closes the bedroom door before I get in, that's a signal that I should sleep in one of the guest rooms, so I did that. However, this morning I broke the ice. I told him about how dismissed I felt over the years. I also said that we are both in our 50s and these last few years have taught us that people at work who kiss the ground you walk on one day can easily turn on you the next. And true partners in life are valuable and hard to find, so I wished he'd treat me like I'm valued. Instead he treats me like he thinks prettier, better, and just as loving is always around the corner. I apologized for the eye roll but told him that if he wants marriage, I want a quick committed timeline and genuine happiness from him to be marrying me. I don't need a big party. He listened to me and finally asked if this was about the money and security. He told me that being an executive's girlfriend required things of me, but if I wanted to work I could have. He said he doesn't think I'm grateful enough for the position in society I was in, due to his career. But that he's not mad about the eye roll, he said he didn't succeed by being that sensitive. He went on to say I was not his prisoner, so I can leave at any time. But to remember he won't tolerate being made my prisoner either via manipulation. He said that for what it's worth, the engagement ring is mine and I could do whatever I wanted with it. He will also not be accused of not providing for his daughter so be assured he won't shirk child support. But he felt what I said before was emotional blackmail. So he no longer wants to go forward with marrying but says if I'd like to travel with him, that's fine. Him traveling is non-negotiable, and so if I wanted to get a job it would have to be a remote job. It was a sad conversation and I spent a few hours alone after that. I felt I had nothing to lose so I just asked him if he would support me getting an associate's, but that most associates for technical careers were in person. He then dropped the bombshell that if I wasn't traveling with him he wasn't going to go those periods without sexual activities. I was astounded by his callousness because he's back to take it or leave it. We fought again with me saying we're all feeling the effects of age, I've supported him through health issues, and if he thinks he can just find somebody who has that loyalty I've shown him, he's wrong. At this point I'm looking for ways out. I can't say I haven't been tempted to say I'll travel with him and try to get a remote job but also realize how resentful I am that he continues to need to have the power in the relationship. I don't think I'll ever know my value truly, but something telling me there has to be better out there, at least in a partner. Relevant comments. 25 years. It's time to just leave. Staying with him is pointless. He will need to pay child support, but unfortunately since he's living off severance and interest good luck with that. He planned everything out just right. OP. So last update from me for a while. I have decided to start sending in applications for work from home jobs such as social media manager, operations assistant, and bookkeeper as soon as I can get a resume together. I have downloaded templates online and am looking into displaced homemaker programs. There are some resume tip websites that are saying they have helped homemakers land $60,000 jobs, and I am going to work hard on my resume. I hope that when they see my earnestness in the interview they would be moved to take a chance on me instead of saying that a white-collar job is too much for me to ask for when I'm willing to work hard. I feel that after running a household that these operations and administration jobs, as well as social media management jobs since I've done the photography for my family and friends, would be within my scope of experience. I hope my comments have not come off as spoiled or out of touch. I apologize if that has offended anyone. What I was trying to say is that I want to be able to rent a studio or one bedroom in a semi-safe neighborhood, and have heard that new grads are able to make $45,000 to $50,000 a year semi-remote in business administration or marketing, and then hit $70,000 to $80,000 in around 5 years, and hope that if I show my intent to get a certification in those fields that employers would give me this opportunity for me to rise up the ranks. I just need somebody to take a chance on me and let me prove that I'm a hard worker. I am not above applying to the big box retailers and such, but the people who work there seem to all be teens or else adults with dubious criminal pasts, so for the sake of my safety, as well as the promotion opportunities available with desk jobs, I would like to explore all my options. I will not sell the ring as of right now out of respect for my partner. However, if he shows me any more displays of disrespect, I will sell the ring. I will, however, do everything I can to prevent myself from falling into poverty, and if that means seeing a lawyer, I will do so. But in my opinion, new grads don't have that much more experience, and much less invested in a job, so they can pick up and leave at any time, so I feel I'd be a more reliable hire. Comment. The delusion is real. Good luck with that. Comment. As someone working in the field she wants to get into, even with a bachelor's degree and internships, the job market is rough and competitive. From experience, there is basically no chance someone without either will be considered realistically. Update 2, 1 month later. It's been over a month since I last posted, and my life has changed drastically. I really wish this update could have been positive. But I'm not doing well. But what remains is hope. Hope in the kindness of others, my grown kids, employers, courts, even my kid's dad. Hope in the value of love that I've given so freely to my kid's dad. Because I was raised to believe even those who don't appreciate the love I've given them will eventually self-actualize and pay it back. Here's what has happened since. Since my kid's dad accused me of trying to keep him an emotional prisoner, I tried to show him I valued his freedom. I gave him his space and showed that I could live life without trapping him. I started doing that right after our discussion. His reaction was anger. After our talk he started glaring and picking fights over everything, the speed at which I did housework, my spending, within his allowance, and cut it to nearly zero. Asked for the ring back during an argument. I took the comments to my post to heart. In particular, advice telling me that if badgered I should refuse to leave the house. Just a few days after our conversation about the engagement he picked a fight and accused me of ignoring him. He said he wanted me out. I said no, I deserve to be here. He responded by having a lawyer send me a notice telling me to vacate that day. I happened so quickly I was too shocked to react. My kids were torn between, dad's bluffing and tried to leave. But now he's filed to evict. It's up to the courts now. I tried looking for legal aid, but the person I talked to was cold and implied that my status as a mom and partner won't protect me from eviction. I've tried sending out applications for office jobs, but was told by friends to be kind to myself because if one rejection comes, something better will be along. My adult kids suggested I apply for SNAP, food stamps, and I haven't out of shame. They said if I do and dad, and I no longer live together, the government will help me collect child support. My grown kids said they can't risk upsetting dad. My oldest told me a gas station was hiring night shift, and he tried to help once he graduated. Just when I decided to just be grateful for the job, they rejected me after an interview where I feel I spoke well. That hurt. But I keep having hope because every day there are new remote and non-remote jobs posted, saying they'll train the right candidate. I am applying to every corporation it seems, with hope that one of them will take a chance on me, give me an interview that I will ace. See me for somebody pulling herself up. I know my boyfriend wants me to beg, but I don't know if that would make him drop the suit. I just don't know anymore. I am in my corner of the house trying to keep things normal, and applying like it's a job. I don't know what else to say, but that ends my update for now. I maintain hope and dignity. Relevant comment. Amazon will literally hire anyone. That's not a dig at you, by the way, so if you need a job and don't mind warehouse work and can get there, you just have to pass a drug test. I've had some terrible worker and interview friends apply and get the job. Plenty of warehouse workers are like 50 plus, so even age isn't a problem. I think starting pay was like $17 to $19 an hour depending on where you are at. I'm assuming that's more than a gas station. I could be wrong though, I haven't applied to a gas station job before. Wishing you all the luck. OP. I just think for me to be committed as something I need to be passionate about it, and it would likely be in a marketing field. At this time I just don't think it would be a good fit for my needs and where I want to go from here. I have applied to around 100 marketing jobs for big corporations and small ones as well as remote. Ideally I'd like a remote position since I work better when I am comfortable in my setting. Comment. You're not qualified. You need to prepare to work to survive. Thinking you should be remote and too good for physical labor isn't going to help you get a job. Seriously, you need a job. OP. I have been applying for jobs where I would be making 6 figures in a few years and I just need one person to see me as a human rather than a sheet of paper and data point. Comment. I'm an attorney and it took me a lot more than a few years to hit 6 figures. If you have no degree and no experience, you are applying to the wrong jobs. Update 5 weeks later. The unconscionable happened. A judge is letting my ex-boyfriend evict me. A judge who is supposed to uphold the laws of fairness, morality, and for years I assumed kindness found, in favor, of my ex-boyfriend. My head is spinning. I have not found a job yet. And I did everything right. I applied to hundreds upon hundreds of marketing jobs online. I've gotten 3 responses, but those responses asked me to download communication apps to do the interview, and their instructions are so hard to understand. I don't do well with non-concrete directions, so I got too aggravated to respond. However, at this point, I'm desperate enough to interview even there. I have taken the advice to apply to non-marketing jobs. My older daughter wrote me a resume for an office assistant job for a church that only offered 8 to 10 hours a week, at $2 over minimum wage. I got called for an interview. And the pastor of all people seemed disappointed after seeing me, and greeted me with a different tone than he greeted the next applicant who came in, a woman in her mid-20s. Horrible behavior from a mid-30s man. He even called me, "Ma'am," in this apprehensive tone. I did not get the job, but I feel bad for whoever does. I only have a few days before a sheriff arrives. I called my kids for help. My legal aid attorney predicted I'd only get visitation until I have a stable place. And child support would likely be enough to only partially pay for motel living, so I needed to quickly get a job. How can the world treat a mom like this? My adult kids arranged to meet me and told me there's a reason even their grandma called my ex an alley cat. They offered to sneak food from dining halls when I visit and lend me clothes for interviews. But said their dad laid down the law with regards to sending money. And that it's not my fault, but at some point the shows of fickle affection they've seen during their childhood, where they faced bullying and watched people like me who are kind be scorned. And in all that instability, accomplishments and money were the only constants, and that has made them emotionally apathetic. But that is hard to fix because it goes hand in hand with the overactive sense of self-preservation they've acquired. They blame it on watching how self-preservation got their dad far, and the lack of it crushed others. I was able to sell the few things that my ex did not bother to claw away from me. I have enough to book a room at a motel for about a week, but then I don't know. I asked my newly 16-year-old if she'd want to stay with me when I got a motel room. She started crying and begging her dad to let me stay. I will fight for custody with every ounce of strength I have. But I'm guessing her siblings are telling her to enlist self-preservation and stay with her dad. I understand, I do. But she still needs her mom. I'm in contact with a shelter. Hopefully I can find somebody who will fight for me to get housing. But I don't know what my future holds. Relevant comments. You have no job or home, why would you be granted custody? OP. I'm working on finding a stable place for me and my daughter. Comment. At every pass, people in the comments tried to share real advice with you. They told you that you were unqualified for the roles you were applying to. They told you that that law would be on his side. Comment. You want a 6-figure job but can't manage to download an app for an interview. Make it make sense. It sounds like your kids are probably making very little in the way of income if they're attending school full-time. It's kind of crazy for you to expect them to somehow come up with the money to support you. That's not their job. OP. I did end up downloading the app, but it was confusing because they wanted to interview me via basically a text message format. I really was willing to overlook it because the job was remote and paid $40 an hour, and the person I was messaging over the job site said it was more administrative, entering information for the company, than anything analytical, but their instructions were confusing and I had a hard time understanding it because a lot of their words were misspelled or phrased with grammatical errors. Comment. What's wrong with admin work if you need money that bad? OP. It's good. It's exactly what I want to do. They are paying $40 an hour, and they said my experience as a stay-at-home mom was great for the role, and I could work from 9 to 3 if need be for my daughter's sake. However, they also asked that I send them information in order to conduct a credit check, and that I can send it before I interview with them as well. They were pretty great because when I did not go to the scheduled interview they texted me and asked me to reschedule anytime. My kids are convinced it's a scam, but I'm desperate enough to take the chance and send the information they are asking. And figure out how to do the virtual interview. It was just hard to read. Comment. That is 100% a scam. This is definitely a scam. Comment. Woman. You have been scammed for over 25 years. You need to listen when someone tells you it's a scam. I'm actually starting to wonder if you should get some neuropsych testing done to rule out a disorder. 4th update, 6 weeks later. I want to apologize to everybody I have offended with my 3rd update. It's not my intention to look down on anybody, but I wish there was more understanding about how I had absolutely nobody to talk to. Nobody who responded to anything I had to say in my life. Nothing to say when I cried, pleaded, and explained. But I understand, it's over now. All I have ever known. I have left my ex's house. I left a day before the sheriff was supposed to come. I could not stand my ex's taunts anymore. Saying goodbye to my daughter nearly broke me, but I am committed to finding a way to see her regularly. I spent 2 nights in a motel. I took advice about using the library as my safe place to apply for jobs during the day. I also paid some money to an online resume service, where they said they had expertise in making homemakers' resumes employable. I also applied to retail jobs and heard back from one. I have an interview soon, but am scared because it only pays 50 cents above minimum wage and just the cost of motels scares me. I am in the process of applying for SNAP. From my years in my former social circle, a lot of the wives were on boards for food banks and such. I know my money from selling the few things my ex didn't snatch away could have been stretched better, but the stress of leaving my daughter there made me buy comfort food, and I admit, also a drink to calm my nerves. My friends from that circle were mostly not communicating with me, but when it was known I was about to be homeless, Suddenly they seemed to have renewed interest in me all at once, but not in the way of giving me any sort of assistance or emotional support. I asked one of the women about the food bank she used to host fundraisers for and the availability. She replied back with the availability. I went there but was humiliated at me telling her, when I was going to go, resulted in her and 3 others from that circle being around, claiming to be volunteering when they only hosted fundraisers, never volunteered on site, when I arrived, and making a show out of asking a lot of probing questions. Yet they started prattling on about party things, complaining about upcoming trips they knew I could now not be a part of. I left so downtrodden and will never go back. I have just spent my second night in a shelter after needing to save the little I have left. I know I will be torn to pieces for saying this, but it was hard to be grateful to be there due to the pests, lack of cleanliness of others in the shelter, going to sleep with somebody next to me crying, somebody throwing up. I can only maintain hope that eventually things will look up, that I won't continue to be punished with grief and fear for wanting better. I hope I get the job I'm interviewing for. I shake at the thought of going back to the shelter again. They make us leave at a certain morning time. I am not this do-nothing leech. I just made the mistake of loving a man and hoping he'd value that.